Hi everyone, this is Neha Sarda, your host for the Young Collaborators podcast series by Innovation World. This is the space where I sit down with teen founders, changemakers, and innovators from across the world to uncover their stories and the ideas shaping our future. Today, I'm joined by someone who has turned everyday spaces like airplanes, billboards, and even bus shelters into life saving platforms for public health. At just 17, he's already an internationally recognized medical researcher, speaker, and changemaker. You may know him from his viral hashtag FlightPSA movement, an in flight announcement that sparked a global conversation about lung cancer screening. His campaigns have reached over 80 million people and been featured in Times Square, US News, and more than 65 media outlets. Beyond healthcare, he's the founder of Change Your Vision, a nonprofit reducing recidivism by building prison libraries. And as a Georgia HOSA state officer, he leads over 20,000 students in healthcare leadership and advocacy. I'm so excited to welcome today's guest, Soneesh Kothagundla. Soneesh, welcome to the podcast. It's such a privilege to have you here. Could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are beyond the titles, and what first drew you into advocacy and medicine?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today, Neha. I've been looking forward to this, and it's truly an honor to be part of this series. So for me, advocacy really started in the most unexpected way. A couple years ago, I made this simple video about lung cancer screening. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just me trying to explain how I went around putting up flyers about lung cancer screening because it was November. It was Lung Cancer Awareness Month, and then someone reached out to me saying, hey, I actually went, my mom is a smoker and I actually got screened because of your video. And so that one message really flipped a switch for me. It made me realize, advocacy isn't about just about shouting from, big stages or, talking to senators at the legislative level and stuff like that. But with the right push, it can, it can scale to something global. But that's what, got me hooked. The idea that awareness isn't just noise, it can, literally save a person's life. And once you experience that, saving a life or someone getting a screening because of you, you can't go back. It's like amazing. It's an amazing feeling. And so honestly, beyond all the titles and serious stuff, I'm just a vibrant, funny guy who, talks too much. But that's what you need for advocacy. I love playing chess and table tennis. I just like to keep life light, full of laughter, help as many people as I can, and like surround myself with people who challenge me. So yeah.
That's amazing. That's so beautifully said as well. So, you've
Yeah.
become known globally for your work in lung cancer screening advocacy. For
Yeah.
listeners who might not be familiar, can you explain why lung cancer screening is so important and how you got involved with it?
Yeah, of course. So, just to give a little bit of context, lung cancer is the number one cause of cancer-related death. And so, here's a crazy part: we actually have a test that can catch it early, right? It's low dose CT scan, and most people don't even know it exists. And that disconnect is huge, and that's what we need to, raise awareness for. Um, and so, some people can qualify for a free medical scan in the U.S. if they match a certain criteria. If they're between the ages of 50 and 80 and they have a history of smoking of about one pack a day for about 20 years, or they've a current smoker or quit in the past 15 years. But it's just really important for people to know that screening exists. And I first got involved through my involvement in the American Lung Cancer Screening Initiative, which is a 501(c)3 nonprofit. But the real fire came from when I met two patient advocates and lung cancer survivors at the National Lung Cancer Roundtable. It was a conference that happened in Atlanta in December of 2024. And I even had the chance to record a video with one of them, which was amazing. But what I realized is that it's a communication problem since just people didn't know about lung cancer screening, right? Like they knew about colon cancer screening and breast cancer screening because you do it at the doctor annually, right? Or whenever they do it. But people don't act on what they don't know, right? Because like if they don't know it, they can't do it. And that's where young advocates like me can jump in and educate people about lung cancer screening. And so that's how I really got involved with lung cancer screening. I think that one conference was super transformational for me, and I think I learned a lot, and that made the biggest impact on me. And sometimes from success is where you get motivation. Like if you're really good at something, you'll end up doing it. And so uh like I ended up becoming good at it, and so I kind of wanted to continue. And so yeah.
Was honestly amazing. So now let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the flight PSA movement. What was it
Yeah.
like making the first announcement on a plane, and did you ever expect it to spark such a global conversation?
I definitely didn't expect it to spark a global conversation, but honestly, it was terrifying. I remember holding the mic. Like, I remember not even going up there. I was just like, should I do this or not? Like, I don't really feel like doing it. Like I'm tired, right? Like, because usually when you're traveling, you're like tired. And so I remember holding the mic and thinking this could be like the coolest thing I've ever done, or like the most awkward thing. And it was both, right? It was pretty awkward and also pretty cool. But I said something like, have you ever heard about lung cancer screening? Lung cancer screening can save lives, stuff like that. Like I'd even introduce myself. I just like went straight and I was just like, yo, like lung cancer. And I probably should have introduced myself. But in that kind of stress, it's kind of hard to, introduce yourself and stuff. But in the next flight announcement, I did introduce myself. And for a few seconds it was just like total silence, right? But then, people started like clapping. And so when I went through the aisle, I think one person told me that she's gonna tell her mom about lung cancer screening, and then that was amazing. I got upgraded to first class once, where they let me in the front of the plane because of just I guess they just had space, and so I got to do that. And I also met a surgeon on board, which was really cool. He just like walked over and he was just like, "Yo, why are you doing all this and stuff?" And it was amazing. But yeah, this is when it hit me, right? Like advocacy doesn't have to live in hospitals or labs, right? Or just like at the White House or the Capitol building or whatever. It can even live at 30,000 feet, right? In front of people who've never actually heard this message before. So yeah.
That's so unconventional, but it's so interesting to hear you
Yeah.
talk about it. And we know that advocacy is powerful because of the personal stories behind it. So, how have those experiences shaped your own vision for the future?
Yeah. So yeah, I think I've had a lot of experiences with advocacy, just like people telling me they got a screening because of me. And these small things really matter, and those are the things that make me continue. And so, I'm ready to take it to a larger scale. I've taken LinkedIn, I've taken on Instagram, and I'm just ready to, make bigger impact, right? Because you use these small wins and they all collectively come to a mountain, right? So like if they're all pebbles, they all come together, it's like a mountain, right? And so like I'm just gonna, just keep doing it. Just keep doing advocacy and, you know, go up to, uppercase advocacy. So like instead of just making videos, I could, talk to senators, collaborate with bigger creators, and stuff like that. I think that's the next step. Coming from my experience.
Okay, that's amazing. So, alongside advocacy, you said that you're also a medical researcher. Could you share a little bit about your research journey, like from lung cancer to neuroscience, and what excites you most about this intersection of science and advocacy?
Yeah, for sure. And so I first started my research journey in 10th grade, sophomore year, the springtime in April. So I started, sending cold emails, like everyone does. And I think the biggest trick for cold emails is just sending a lot. And so I sent a lot, and I eventually got this. I was back in the time I was really interested in just neuroscience. So I basically just sent a bunch of emails to people in like neurosurgery and neuroscience. And I ended up getting this internship at Emory where we analyzed mice and seizures and stuff like that. um, but yeah, in the beginning, I wrote like an article about a neurodegenerative disease and just submitted to like a journal that some random journal. I don't even know what it's called. But and so that's where my research journey started, right? Like just writing random papers about topics that I thought were interesting. And I kind of used those in my cold emails, saying, I did this, and maybe I should do this. And so I kind of got involved. And I also joined the American Lung Cancer Screening Initiative through a cold email. Just at the beginning, it was just to get research experience and volunteer experience, right? Like I never thought it would become something like this. Like I never thought like this would become like my purpose in life, which now it is, which is amazing. And so I think I kind of just tried a bunch of things in terms of like research, and I also did research, about frog signals, which I didn't really enjoy, and I kind of and stop doing it. And so there's just some things that stick and some things that don't. So in December 2024 is when I went to the roundtable. It was my first, not first, but it was like one of my second or third research conferences, and that's the one that was the most impactful for me. Yeah, with about lung cancer and stuff. And in lung cancer, I do a bunch of research. So it's like disparities, using AI in lung cancer, talking about post-operative complications with patients, like all kinds of stuff. But what excites me, about the intersection between research and advocacy, like you asked, is science tells us what's happening, but advocacy asks, so what are we going to do about it? And so they go hand in hand, right? So like science can't really change stuff. It can tell us what to change, but advocacy is how you actually do the change. So yeah.
Honestly, I'm in awe of everything that you're doing. And what I
Yeah.
find even more amazing is that your work doesn't stop at healthcare. So tell us about Change Your Vision and the work you're doing to reduce recidivism through prison libraries. What inspired that?
Yeah, for sure. So actually, I used to watch a lot of documentaries about, just prisons and stuff like that, like because it kind of just showed up on my YouTube feed. Just hearing their stories is kind of saddening, first of all. Um, but Yeah, change of vision, it actually is kind of related to healthcare because, it's all about giving people a second chance. And so, for example, let's say someone drinks a lot and their liver got infected, right? And so they'll get a liver donation through, organ donation, and they're basically getting a second chance, right? And let's say someone worked a lot in factories and stuff like that, and it's not their fault that they got lung cancer, but we're basically giving them a second chance. And similarly with change of vision, they get in jail, they get in prison, but we can give them a second chance, right? Thinking about self-help books, we only donate self-help books. We don't donate fantasy or like stuff like that. We donate only self-help books in order to help them with discipline and leadership, not like they don't already have it, but to just keep building on those skills and values for them. And so I also started this initiative where we do journals for inmates, so they can reflect on their lives, and it's a guided journal, so they'll have like it's goal oriented, and so yeah, that's I think the main motivation behind change of vision.
Amazing. I love that. So, as a
Yeah,
Georgia hosted state officer, you empower over 20,000 students. What do you
yeah.
think Gen Z brings to healthcare advocacy that previous generations may not have?
Yeah, I think I always talk about this, but we bring audacity. So Gen Z doesn't wait for permission, right? You see like 3-year-olds being professors nowadays. You see like 10-year-olds on the news all the time. And so we see a gap, we try to fill it, right? We're digital natives. We know how to scale messages faster than any generation. We have social media. And maybe most importantly, we bring urgency, right? We don't just wait. We don't just wait. We want to actually make change, right? And so that's why I always say Gen Z has the ability to make public health viral. And so there's a lot of things that go viral, and they're all mostly by Gen Z. And if we applied that to public health, that would be amazing. Like
Okay, so
the
mm-hmm.
yeah, like for example, like there's a lot of like random TikTok and Instagram stuff that go viral, like like 6, 7 or something. And there's just a bunch of random stupid TikTok challenges that if we use them for public health, that would be so much more beneficial. But yeah,
Okay, so from what I can see, you're not slowing down anytime soon. You're running
yeah,
the Surgeon Soneesh Show podcast, writing a weekly newsletter, and working on your upcoming book, Fasten Your Seatbelt, We're Changing the World. Can you give us a sneak peek into what this book is about?
yes, of course. So Fasten Your Seatbelt is part memoir, but it's also part blueprint, right? It's about the 4 in-flight announcements. It starts with that. It starts with the announcements that I've given and what they taught me about leadership, courage, and creating movements. And this book isn't just about polished success stories, right? I also share the moments where I was terrified, the times I almost bailed, the awkwardness, how people still call me a child, stuff like that. But because I think young people really need to hear that you don't need to be perfect to create change. You don't need to have all these titles and stuff. You just need to be bold enough to start. And so like when I gave these announcements, like people think I'm like a genius and stuff, but like no, I just gave an announcement, right? Like as long as you have something to say, like you can say it. And so I just want to help young people realize how to start making change, and you can do that by giving an example of yourself, of how, like, it's not about me, this book, it's about why not you, like the question of why can't you be doing this. So yeah.
Okay, so where do you see your mission taking you in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, for sure. So I see myself as a thoracic surgeon in training. I'll probably be in, medical school or residency or something like that. But I'll also be continuing to run global advocacy campaigns, writing books, speaking at events, hopefully as a keynote, maybe even shaping healthcare policy. Um, and my goal is to live at the intersection of medicine, media, and building movements. Because, curing people one by one is incredible. Like a surgeon, you do one surgery at a time, but when you change systems and you advocate for bigger causes, that means you save thousands of lives instead of just one by one. So
Amazing. So, let's move to the advice part of the podcast, where I'm going to ask you a couple of questions where, you can give advice for young change makers. So, looking
yeah.
back, what's one belief you've had to unlearn during this journey as a young advocate?
I think one belief is probably that you need permission to start. I used to think, I'll wait till I'm in med school to do research. I'll wait until I'm older. I'll wait until, someone gives me a platform. I'll wait until someone gives me the mic. But the truth is that, you can just take the mic, right? Like the first platform I had was an airplane announcement, and that's an unconventional platform, which opened up so many conventional platforms for me. And so just the audacity, and just I think I think just putting yourself out there is just really important. And so many people ask me, like, you put yourself out there on LinkedIn. I don't have any titles. I'm not as cracked, stuff like this. But you don't need to be, right? Like it's all about documenting the journey. It's all about, telling people about what you're up to, and someone might resonate with it. It's not about showing how, like, there's a difference between cracked and impactful. And I really believe in impact more than, having stats and, stuff like that. And so that's what I'd say. I'd say, put yourself out there, and that you don't need permission to start.
Okay, amazing. I think that answers my next question, where I was going to ask you to give advice for any young listener out there who wants to make an impact but feels too young, but I believe you answered my question. So
Yeah.
before we wrap up, let's do a quick this rapid fire round. I'll throw a few rapid fire questions your way and answer in a word or a sentence. Are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so one book you recommend every teen change maker should read.
I read this book called Gray Matters by Theodore Schwartz.
Okay, what's one dream city to give your next advocacy talk in?
New York City, because I thrive in chaos.
Okay. If you could collaborate with any change maker or public figure, who would it be?
Dr. Mike, because he talks about medicine and storytelling.
Okay. And what's a quote that you live by?
Alone we're pebbles, together we're mountain.
Okay, nice. That was fun. So,
Yeah.
Soneesh, thank you so much for joining us today. Your
Yeah.
journey shows that Gen Z isn't just waiting for the future, we're creating it. What inspires me most is how you've taken something as intimidating as lung cancer and turned it into global conversation led by youth. From airplanes to billboards, from research labs to international stages, you've proven that passion paired with action can truly save lives. To our listeners, don't forget to check out the Surgeon Soneesh show, his newsletter, and his upcoming book, Fasten Your Seatbelt, We're Changing the World. I have no doubt we'll be seeing his name shaping the future of medicine and public health in the years ahead. This is Neha Sarda, your host of the Young Collaborators podcast series by Innovation World. I'll see you next time with another young innovators who's redefining what's possible.
Thank you so much for having me.